Okay, everybody, if you don't mind, we'll get started because I want to be respectful of your time. And I want to make sure that we have a chance to answer any questions that you may have. So, some of you I know pretty well, actually. How many of you are currently teaching some kind of aviation? Most of you, okay. And we're talking about high school, some nods, college, maybe, elementary school, middle school, you never know. Okay, all right. So really, I'm going to walk you through the program that we offer. We want to give you a lot of nitty-gritty stuff since we're talking about educators, right? But at the same time, I really want you to get whatever information you want out of this. So stop me, ask me questions, share your thoughts. Let's work on this as a group and see if we can make sure that you get the most out of this. And I know it's been 2 really full days, right? So it's after lunch, in fact, way after lunch. The brownie is kicked in, or the cookie, and the coffee, you're not sure if you should have another cup, and you're just still for a hour. So, wiggle, move around, it's all good. And we'll try to make this as engaging as we can. How many of you are actually pilots, or the majority of you? So you guys probably already know what AOPA is. We're the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. And our high school program is part of the AOPA Foundation. I'm the Senior Vice President of the AOPA Foundation, so I'm responsible for the charitable arm of the organization, and also for all of the You Can Fly programs. And that includes our educational programs. We also support the AOPA Air Safety Institute. I hope those of you who are pilots have used some of those resources. They're free. They do great accident analysis, great reporting, and then also the airport support network we support. And that is the folks who are on fields around the country and defend the airports. They let us know when things are going sideways. So hopefully we can intervene before it's too late. So under You Can Fly portion of our program, we do a lot of different things. The whole program was created with the idea that if we were going to get people involved in aviation and keep them there, we have to intervene and meet them where they want. So the first thing about aviation is finding out that it's an option. So that's where our high school program comes in. Learning to fly, trying to create a better flight training experience. Those of you who are going to be around this evening are going to see one of the programs that we do there, and that is recognize the flight schools and instructors who do a great job. Sustained engagement can be hard if you're not a professional pilot. Do any of you fly just for fun? Have you ever stopped flying? Yeah? I myself stopped flying for about 15 years, and it's really common. Life tends to get in the way. Kids, jobs, things like that. But once a pilot, always a pilot, and we want to get people back into flying. So, flying clubs to help sustain your engagement in aviation, to do the community, make it more affordable. But then rescue pilots to help get back in the air. And to give you an idea, we've helped start about 225 flying clubs around the country. So those are serving thousands of pilots right now. And we have almost 12,000 pilots back in the air, completed a flight review and flying again through the rest of the pilots program. So I just want to show you a little video that regards one of the schools that's using our high school program to kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about. I think I'm going to show you the video. I think it's going to play. Awesome. The aviation education program, even more schools across the country. This is thanks to the grant of the FAA.
Pilot Association that is currently now one of the best schools across the state of Maryland. So we make thought visiting to our high school in Rockville to see how it's lessons.
All at the airports during aviation class. I was in high school.
All these things that go into flying an airplane, you don't know as a regular person.
Program Director Michael Smith says there were currently close to 200 students enrolled about 300 on the list.
Okay, when Tom also said that kids are able to 3D print their airfoils and test them, and as you can see with our room, we have our simulations.
I have the autopilot set to the heading.
The Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association comes out with a free curriculum for schools across the U.S. And just weeks ago, the FAA gave almost $500,000 to train the teachers over the next couple of decades to really see which commodities are pilots retired or the capital list. According to Boeing, in the next 20 years, aviation will be more than 600,000 new pilots, more than 600,000 new maintenance technicians, and almost 90,000 new members of the required. Now, Uber students not only learn that they all take their own certification test and can also choose to take the FAA private pilot knowledge test.
It was like a brand new world.
Debbie has foresight set on career in air traffic control.
I loved it when I first saw it. I can still learn how a pilot works and not be in the air.
For Byron, the magic lies above. He hopes to fly for the military.
You got a big thing that weighs more than anything else you could possibly think of. It just lifts off the ground and flies into a country.
2 students following their own coordinates
There's an airport over there. I'm going to try to land there.
to land on solid ground.
So I really want to pursue aviation, and it's really something I look forward to. I feel very lucky.
In Rockville, Megan Clark, 7 News.
So those are a couple of kids actually using the program, and I don't know if you caught this, but that's a program in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is just about an hour south of our AOPA headquarters. They started field testing the program for us back 6-7 years ago when we were first getting started, and they gave us their feedback and so on. And the program has grown and grown and grown, and we now are serving 180 kids every semester. And they have a 350 kid waiting list. And kids are applying to this school from all over the county, all over the district, to be able to have access to the program. They've done some really terrific things there, and they are not alone. I'm going to just pick on a teacher that we have here who's using the program, Ryan. He's over in Winter Haven, Florida, and he is in the process of, well, several years in now, of building a program that has grown and grown as well, and they've got a lot of great kids. I had a chance to meet some of them at Sun and Fun a couple of weeks ago, and they are truly, truly impressive.
Nonprofit, now able to expand.
That's enough of that. So the kids that you saw there are the reason that we do this, and the reason that we make this program available. They're very typical. They mostly had no idea about aviation, didn't know it was an option, don't know anybody who's a pilot, had never seen a small aircraft. It showed up as aviation was an elective on their class schedule, and they said, okay, let's try it. And now they're planning careers in aviation and in different fields. So while we are 2 pathways in our program, pilot and UAS, the first year of the program is heavily engaging students in just what the choices are, what's available. And we think that's a really important thing because we recognize that we need a healthy ecosystem, right? We can make all the pilots in the world, but if there are no air traffic controllers or dispatchers or maintainers, aviation is going to be in a lot of trouble. So given your background, I don't probably need to tell you why it's worth pursuing aviation education. If you have flown lately, you've seen a lot of this, and we know that there's a shortage of pilots. I'm sure all of you are probably familiar with the Boeing forecast, 600,000 pilots in the next 20 years, as well as maintainers, cabin crew, everybody else. So one of the things that we think is important for students to understand is that there are a million ways to engage in aviation. There are just a few up here. Some of them we think about a lot. We think about maintainers. We think about being a pilot. We may think about the military. Do we think about ag operations? Do we think about all of the new emerging applications for drones? There are so many things that you can do in aviation. I never cease to be amazed when the kids who are coming out of the program tell me what their plans are. I want to be an aviation journalist. I want to be an aviation lawyer. I want to run an FBO. So they're discovering those opportunities, and That's really the first step. So our curriculum is a 4-year STEM curriculum. It's STEM.org reviewed. And it comes in the 2 pathways, as I said, pilot and drone. The idea is to get kids interested and then ready for the next step in whatever their aviation career path might be. Students will gain stackable credentials, so everybody's prepared to take the FAA private pilot knowledge test or the Part 107 test after 11th grade. Many do both. In fact, if you're following the pilot track, we encourage you to do both. Why not? The drone is just a subset of those questions, so you're ready. The program was built for teachers and by teachers and pilots, so it's really designed with their needs aligned. The people who helped us create this, in fact, there's one of them standing right here in the front row. I know, that guy. You guys heard a lot from him over the last few days. So.
Sorry about that.
But the idea is that it's really designed to meet your needs. But the biggest thing about it, the thing that is kind of unique, is that it's completely free. And we designed it to be a way of lowering barriers to entry for aviation. So it was very important to us that we make it free. It's entirely funded by donors, primarily individuals, as well as a few organizations who pay to make this happen every year. So we're very, very grateful to them. But what that means for you is that you get everything you need other than consumables to be able to deliver the program. And we work very hard to keep the costs down on the consumables. So there are a lot of activities, but the vast majority of things you need to do them, you probably already have in your school. Tissue paper, tape, scissors, glue, stuff like that. What the curriculum is not, it is not a ground school. Ground school is awesome. I encourage everybody to take ground school, but it's really not about that. It is not flight training. Although we're happy to work with groups and help people get in the air, we've got a lot of students who are learning to fly, but it's not that either. It's not pick and choose content, so this is an issue that comes up a lot. It's not designed to be an activity or a lesson that gets slotted into a different class. There are great programs that do that. EAA has fantastic content for that. So if that's what you're looking for, that's a better choice. And it's not meant to be a non-credit bearing program. So it's not an after-school thing, it's not a summer camp. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be flexible. So we have museums that teach the program. We have homeschool co-ops that teach the program. As long as the students get high school credit for it, it doesn't have to be in a traditional classroom. Anybody have any questions yet? You're all very quiet. Yeah? Okay. So I'd like to kind of run you through the different kinds of content. Ninth grade is very much an introduction to aviation. We call it grade 9, but the truth is different schools use it differently, and we're fully supportive of that. So some schools use a mixed cohort, all grade levels take this class, it's Intro to Aviation. Others run a cohort across a 4-year time span because they can only offer one class at a time. So they start here, and they teach it every 4 years. So it's very flexible in that regard. Students are going to spend a lot of time on engineering design because that's kind of some fundamental concepts, iterating ideas, testing them, proving them, watching them fail. That's all part of the learning process. So they're going to master that, at least we hope they will, in this first class. They're going to look at career options, they're going to look at soft skills. I heard several speakers over the last day or so talking about some of the challenges with soft skills for students. I communicate like this, and now you want to talk to me? That is really intimidating and threatening, and I don't really want to look at you, and I might shuffle up there like this. You've seen this? Yeah. So we want to start from the beginning, helping kids learn what's expected in a professional environment, and how to communicate, and how to look you in the eye. And I have to say, your students are unbelievable. They walk right up, they introduce themselves, they look you in the eye, they tell you what they want to do with their lives. Very, very impressive. So in 9th and 10th grade, the 2 pathways are combined. It doesn't matter if you're going into UAS or you're going into flight, you're going to do the same things, because we're covering the fundamentals. So in 10th grade, we get deeply into aircraft systems, performance, we start building a career portfolio, We learn a lot about the forces of flight. Again, we do lots of hands-on activities. So that little photo there is a hydraulic system that students are going to build with popsicle sticks and some very basic stuff. In 11th grade, the pathway is split, because now we're getting into details where the kids need different things depending on what you want to do next. So if you're going into drones, you're going to learn some about weather, but high altitude weather is probably not your big concern. You do need to know about airspace, but you need to know a lot about best practices for mission planning and drone operations, and that definitely looks different. If you are in pilot, you're going to learn about airport operations, flight planning, airspace, weather, and then regardless of your pathway, you'll be ready for an FAA knowledge test at the end of the year. 12th grade, so we divided this into sort of two different areas, depending on how your school operates. So the first half of 12th grade is all about advanced topics. So now we're looking to the future. We're looking to alternative propulsion. We're looking to things that aircraft might be used for in the future that they're not currently used for. We're looking at new and emerging technologies, so as you can imagine, we have to update this kind of all the time. And now we're looking also at career prep skills. If you're going into flight, you're going to learn about the kinds of aircraft you might fly, the different kinds of ratings you might be getting. And then the second half of 12th grade is intended to be a capstone project. This is great college prep stuff because students are going to do a lot of this kind of work when they get to college. It's very much about student voice and choice. So students work with their teachers and their communities to find real-world projects that they can develop, design, and implement. That could be, depending on your school's preferences, earning your pilot certificate, and we certainly do see that. But it also might be developing an airport business plan, or solving a real problem at a real airport. What can we do about parking? What can we do about fuel? So what do you get? You get lesson plans. Really, really detailed lesson plans. Curriculum means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. That is probably one of the most abused words in education, in my opinion. These are very detailed lesson plans. They give you all the background knowledge you need to teach the lesson. You're also going to get classroom presentations. Complete student activities, lots of instructions, step-by-step with pictures, all the good stuff. Assessments. Not every teacher likes to do assessments the same way. We're going to provide you with rubrics and teacher notes. If you are a teacher who wants to do a quiz every week, every lesson, every day, to keep kids on track, great, you can do that, we provide all that. If you just want to do a unit test, or you just want to do a final, that's okay too, we provide all of that as well. Okay, so I myself, I'm going to confess right now, am not a professional educator. So I'm going to use the jargon, and y'all can call me out on anything I get wrong. So all of the lessons are designed in a 5E lesson format, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. They all include appropriate learning goals, depths of knowledge. They're aligned to next generation science standards as well as Common Core state standards, and in many cases to state aviation standards or state CTE standards, depending on what your state requires. Easy access, everything is delivered to an LMS online. We're all about taking it to the next level. So it's not just about getting through the class or getting through high school. What are you going to do with it? So we work with states, state departments of education, state aviation departments, CTE departments in different districts and states again, depending on how it's set up. We crosswalk to a lot of state standards, and we will even do it to individual district standards. If we've got something unusual going on, let us know. In Oklahoma, it is a core academic class. So you can replace science or math with this aviation program. We've got a couple other states working on the same thing, but by and large, it is an elective class. And Eric gave the best explanation I've ever heard yesterday of the difference between dual enrollment, articulation agreements, And I won't dive into how many of which, because the truth is I don't know. But we've got 81 colleges in 21 states that offer some kind of dual credit for students using the program. So if you decide you want to go down this pathway, you are not alone. Right now, we've got more than 400 schools, more than 16,000 students enrolled in the program this semester. That equates to more than 1,500 classrooms in 43 different states. You can kind of see the growth trend from when we first got started. Just a little distribution map, so you can see where schools are located. We have a fun thing going on between Oklahoma and Kentucky, where they're competing to have the most schools using the program, which of course we love. So you can see there's some real density around there. And the coast is no surprise if you look at the distribution relative to the number of pilots in the United States. As I said, it was really important to lower the barriers to entry. And there are a lot of traditionally underrepresented groups in aviation. We do not look like this country one bit. And we really want to see that change. So right now, 22% of our students are female. That has been holding steady. And I'm actually really happy about that. It's not where I want to be. I'd love to see us at 50%. But we thought potentially as we expanded the number of students in the higher grades, 11 and 12, we would see the females start to drop out. That has not been the case, so that's great. And if you look at the distribution, the ethnic distribution, it looks very, very similar to the country. So that's really encouraging. If we see this trend continue through time, in a decade, our community is going to look a lot more like the rest of the country. Types of schools, lots of different types of schools successfully use the program. 40% rural schools. Now that seems a little weird, right? Because how can we have that many rural schools using it? But we found that rural communities often have small schools. They are really under-resourced, and they're really looking at how they can provide career pathways for kids to give them opportunities they may not currently have. So big adoption there. Title I eligible, 46%. So we're seeing a lot of economically disadvantaged schools also participate. And the majority are public schools, but we support all kinds of schools. And that other category includes things like homeschool co-ops. So we had our first 1,152 students graduate last year from the program. They were the first cohort to go all the way through. Of those, we were really pleased to see that about 75% are planning additional education. And if you go back and you look at that number of economically disadvantaged schools, that's really encouraging. 58% told us they intend an aviation career. So, the question when we started this is, will it make a difference? Does it work? Well, yeah, turns out it does. These kids are getting the idea and they're deciding to pursue it. Of those kids, 35% want to be pilots, but 32% want to be engineers. 14% say they want to go into maintenance. And then the rest are looking at other things like aviation law, airport management, dispatch. And interestingly enough, so we have a few kids that we've heard from this year who graduated early for whatever reason. And that number for this year, instead of 58%, it's over 70%. Say they intend an aviation career. All right, who can teach the curriculum? You do not have to be a pilot. You have to have an interest, you have to be willing to learn, but you do not have to be a pilot. Most of our teachers are not pilots. That is the unicorn, right? How many teachers are also pilots? We get pilots who are willing to teach, but it doesn't often have to be the other way around. Anyone who's a pilot and not a teacher, go ahead and plug your ears, because I'm going to tell the rest of you, it's way easier to make a pilot than it is to make a teacher. So if you're a good teacher and you have an interest, we want to help you become a pilot, because there's no comparison to what you know about education that will serve you to what aviation, you can learn that. We provide a lot of in-person and virtual training and ongoing support. So if you're teaching a lesson and you don't get it, when you're prepping for a lesson, you're like, no. And there's one in particular that we used to get calls about before we wrote it, and that was helicopter stability. Call us. Yeah. That's a good one, right, Carmen? Yeah. I heard that.
Sounds like a contradiction.
Yeah. Yeah, but give us a call. We have CFIs on staff who are prepared to answer your questions, to help you teach the lesson, to solve the difficulties, and we also have educators on staff. So we're there for you to answer those questions when they come up. So if you're not a pilot, don't be intimidated by our curriculum. We've got a lot of support. We also do office hours quarterly, where we get teachers together from the same grade, and we encourage them to talk to each other and us about whatever's going on, whatever the issues are, so we can address those for you. If you adopt the program, we make a number of commitments to you. The first one is that we commit to keeping it free. It's really, really important to us that we make this available to any school of any means. And so we will continue to ask donors to support this program so that we can keep it free. We will provide you with training. We will provide you with program planning and support, and that goes from day one. So if you're saying to yourself, ooh, this sounds like fun, but my district superintendent, principal will never go for it, we'll help you through that process. We've been through it a lot. And there's usually a few levers that you can pull. And sometimes it's as simple as letting them know that it's being successful in the county next door. You'll receive continuing education units for teacher professional development, an ongoing support program, help with state course approval, and lots of opportunities to network with other teachers. We have found that the teachers who use the program are one another's best resource. I mean, we're there for you and we'll answer any questions, but boy, get 10 or 20 teachers together and let them start sharing ideas, and it's kind of magical what happens after that. Professional development comes in two flavors. So we have video professional development on demand, and that's completely free. We also have in-person professional development, and especially if you're new to the program, I really strongly encourage you to come to this. It's a lot of fun. We're going to do a lot of the activities that we would teach in the classroom, so you can see how they really play out, because the truth is we all know that something that you see on a piece of paper and what 25, 15-year-olds do with that thing are very, very different. So you get a chance to do all that. Where possible, we provide discovery flights, and we're doing programs at multiple locations around the country. Typically, they're 3 to 4 days, and we try to do it in the summer because we know how hectic your schedule is and how hard it is to get away for the class. We do ask you to make a few commitments to us. So we ask that you give your students high school credit. Some, you may also have programs where you can offer college credit, but we really want the students to get credit. This is a rigorous program. They're going to work hard, and we want them to earn for that. We ask that you respect the fidelity of the program. So this question came up actually before we got started here. We ask you to teach the program as it's written. Now, that being said, we know that the very best teachers change, modify, adapt, adjust. So we're not saying that you have to read every lesson plan word for word. What we are saying is that we don't want you to just pick apart pieces, because then we can't go back to our donors and evaluate whether or not we're being successful. If somebody just uses one or two little bits or fills in something else, we have no way of evaluating whether or not we're doing what we've committed to do. So we do ask you to remain faithful to the program within reason. Class size, we require, because it costs money to support this, we do require a minimum class size, but it's only 5 people. So that's really about helping some of these rural communities get engaged, as well as homeschool groups. Data collection, we're going to ask you to complete a couple of surveys. Usually one at the beginning of the semester and one at the end of the semester. If you're on a block schedule, it's a little different. But the idea is we want some anonymized data about your students. How were their starting test scores? What do they look like at the end? What are the demographics of your classroom? What are your students' intentions? We ask the school to provide a teacher, and we ask that that teacher be in compliance with whatever the state or local regulations are. So sadly, we have some states that think that you must be an ATP and have X thousands of hours to teach an intro to aviation course. That is definitely not true. And we're working with some states to try and get that changed. But at the same time, we ask that the school pay for the teacher or whatever the sponsoring organization is, and that you meet whatever your state's requirements are. And then we ask that the school or local governing body provide support to the program. So if you're coming into the program, we ask that you get a signature from your administrator or someone at your district level who can say, yes, we approve of this, we support this going on in the school. Because no teacher can do it alone. We've seen people try, and kudos to them, but it's not easy. A couple of other opportunities that we make available. Has anybody, well, I know a couple of you have, been to one of our aviation STEM symposiums? Okay, so it's this year, we're coming up, we're going to be in Orlando, Florida. It is November 12th through 14th, and the objective here is to get teachers together, people who have a program, who want to develop a program, who want to grow a program, learn about not only our curriculum, but all the other resources that are out there for you. And there are a lot, which is the good news. We also have scholarships. We recognize that it is not always easy, especially for young people, to make that leap into flying. So last year, we gave away about $1.3 million in scholarships. The vast majority of them are $10,000 scholarships, although they do go up as high as $14,000. And the idea is to get kids who are engaged out there and flying. It's very important to us to get teachers flying as well. I'm just going to pick on Brian again for a second. He's someone who applied for one of our teacher scholarships, and we do reserve at least 20 scholarships a year for teachers who are teaching the program, because you guys are a force multiplier in the classroom. It is unbelievable the way your students will engage with you when you can walk in and say, well, I was doing this the other day, and this is what happened. And I hear great stories about whole classes showing up at the airport on Saturday morning with posters to judge their teacher landings. Yeah, don't let that scare you off. But, so Ryan here applied for one of our scholarships. And while he didn't get it the first time, and we always encourage people to try again, right? Because we do have so many applicants, but he couldn't wait. He went out and learned to fly, brought that experience to his classroom, and now so many of his kids are flying. How many are your kids in your classes?
How many kids total?
Or how many are flying?
We've got 3 with the pilot's license now. We've got about 5 more that are ready to take a check ride. So,
And I'm pretty sure that wouldn't happen if you weren't there being a role model for them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So how can you make the most of the program? The program itself, as I have said, is free, but there are lots of other ways that you can supplement what happens in the program. Sims are a great one. You saw that in that video that we started out with. The Redbird team has built a free curriculum for their Sims that runs alongside our lesson plans. So, for example, when we're teaching wing and balance, it's great to do those calculations on paper and say, oh, yeah, the plane won't fly, but then we load you up in the sim and let you try it. Move that center of gravity around, change that weight, and see what really happens. And that's when it kind of comes home to students. Starting early, there are a lot of options for getting information into the hands of kids before high school. So our program is exclusively a high school program, although I will say that if you have a middle school system that allows you to give high school credit for a class taught in 8th grade or 9th grade, depending on your system, you can do that as well. The high school credit is the key thing. So if you want to teach it to 8th graders and they can get credit, great. But programs like EAA offer great stuff for elementary school kids, for middle school kids, and you don't have to create an entire system for that. You can take a lesson that you think is relevant or that you think will attract your kids, and you can drop it into your science class, to your math class. And so kids can start getting a taste for it early. Take advantage of that. That stuff is all free too. Our friends at ACE, Aerospace Center for Excellence, are also building a very comprehensive middle school curriculum. So if you guys have a desire to create a pathway that goes all the way, you can do that. Those things are out there. Aviation clubs. So one of the things our flying clubs group does is help start aviation interest clubs. And that can look like all kinds of things. But getting kids hands-on experience above and beyond the classroom is magical. You know, that's a lot of times where things really click. So that might be a flying club, but it doesn't have to. It could be a drone club. It could be an aviation interest club that just has guest speakers come along, or does field trips, goes to the local airport tower. So there are lots of different ways to do that. And if that's something anybody is interested in, you can contact us, and we will get our flying clubs team to work for you. We've also got a liaison who specifically does this kind of thing based in Florida, and they can help you find the right kind of organization for you. I will say, just off the bat, a lot of people go, oh, liability. There are lots of models where you can avoid liability to the school and provide those kinds of experiences. So don't let that scare you away, because that's the first thing everybody says. And then building bridges to the community. So this works both ways. If you are a flight school or a flight instructor, and there is a program in your area, offer to help. Offer to be a guest speaker. Offer to connect to others at the airport. Let kids come out and look at an airplane up close. But if you are in the school system, contact those local businesses, contact the local airport. This is a really welcoming community. Aviation is full of people who love what they do and want to see other people have the chance to do it too. And that means that if you call up your local airport and say, hey, I got a group of 5th graders, 10th graders, whatever, and we'd really like to know more about the airport, there's an excellent chance you will be well received. So don't hesitate to do that. If you are a flight school, you also have an opportunity to help. Encouraging the adoption in your community, supporting the teachers, calling up, offering to be a speaker, offering just to be a resource, someone I can call and say, help, I don't get it. Visit classes, invite them to the airport, connect a teacher to the local businesses. So you guys are all here, so you're way ahead of the game. But we often find that teachers just don't even know what kind of aviation businesses or resources are in their community. They don't know that there might be an airplane manufacturer. They don't know where the airport is. They don't understand what happens on an airport. So if you're a CFI or a flight instructor and you have that knowledge, please offer to share it with a teacher in your community so that they can figure out what's available to them. And then training. So in 2022, we had more than 2,100 of our students start flight training. If you are a flight school, consider supporting training operation in conjunction with your local high school. Maybe a discount, maybe get mom and dad involved. Very often we find that parents have a barrier to acceptance because they have some weird ideas. My mother actually told me I was about 17 when I thought I'd like to learn to fly. And she said, not while you're on my insurance. And second, she said, those little planes just fall out of the sky. So it was a few years before I actually did some flight training. I had to get off her insurance. And, you know, of course, learned that little planes do not fly, just fall out of the sky. But if you can win over the parents and show them things like, these are the kinds of jobs available to your student once they graduate, this is the kind of money that they can make in this field, this is the kind of demand. Hey, how about a discovery flight? You want to check it out, see what it's all about? You have a much better chance of growing and maintaining your program. All right, so some QR codes for you to get more information about anything that you want. But really, I want to answer your questions.
My current program is a career center program. So we're a public school that is a co-operative that sends main districts send our specific location. We only get juniors and seniors, but I have them 2.5 hours a day. Is that modifiable within the curriculum?
100%. So just to dig a little deeper, the classes are based on the idea of a 15-minute period, 140 sessions a year, 70 sessions a semester. Pretty standard stuff, and enough time to accomplish some other things. I will say, by the way, that I have yet to meet a teacher who told me they got all the way through all the material. It can be pretty students. So, but we work with schools all the time that have alternative schedules. You can teach 9 and 10 at the same time. You can teach 9 the first half of the semester. You can teach, there's a lot of different varieties. You can combine some things to save time. The idea being, this was built on the idea that you're going to go sort of 9th through 12th grade, which means there's a certain amount of repetition built in. Because if you learn it in 9th grade, you do not remember when you're a junior. That's just the way it is. So you can reduce that to make it fit if you want to get it all in. Yeah, lots of flexibility on that. And we've probably done it. Yeah.
Oh, I just have a question.
Oh, you have a question?
Yeah.
And we've probably done it for someone. So give us a call and we can probably help you model that out if you really want us to.
Other than those commitments that you mentioned on like class size, data sharing, all of those things, are there any other requirements that you guys put forth for a school to use the curriculum?
No, that's really it. So we technically have an application process, but it's not a competitive application process. That's really just what we call some paperwork. And we're actually trying to shave that down. So we're going to ask you to give us data about the teacher, for example, a point of contact, someone at the district who's going to approve this, class size, demographic information.
That's really it?
That's really it. I mean, the burden of time should be pretty short.
Okay. And then if schools, so I talk to schools all the time that are starting these programs, don't necessarily have a curriculum in mind that they wanted to use, and so definitely recommend them contacting you guys. Should I just send them to that link, that like AOPA.org apply?
You can send them to that link, you can send them to our website, but you can also send them to any of us who know us because we work together. So send them to any of us and we're always happy to answer their questions and help them get started. Some people just don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to go to the website, fill out the form, totally fine. Other people really want to be walked step by step through the process and understand the experience that other people have had, that's fine too. Whatever your comfort level is, we're here to support that.
So you mentioned block schedule earlier. Is there any talk about creating a block schedule version of the pre-made lessons and all those things?
It's a great idea. As soon as we have the resources, to do that. There's a lot of different variations on the theme, but one of the things that we found is that the block schedules, for as much as there's variability in a standard class period, 43 minutes, 52 minutes, 48 minutes, the variability in the way school districts do block scheduling is massive. So you get someone like you get them for 2.5 hours every day, 5 days, 2.5 hours, 5 days a week. At my own children's high school, it's 80-minute periods, 4 classes at a time, 1 semester at a time. So trying to do that effectively, I'm not sure how we really could. But if you have a specific situation or you know someone with a specific situation, we probably have seen it, and we would be happy to walk you through it.
And the reason I ask is because in Tennessee, we have to have licensed instructors, right? So we're bringing them in from industry having no education background. If they are teaching that class, they're likely also going back to school and learn how to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So one thing that can lessen the burden on them would be a scripted lesson that is 90 minutes in our case.
Yeah.
We can teach them how to manipulate it from a teacher perspective, but again, it's a lot to take on at one time, and if it was scoped out for a block schedule, that would be one less thing to worry about.
Well, actually, go ahead.
Right, I'll say from teaching it, I've taught all 4 years of it, and we're on the same schedule, 90 minutes block.
Yeah.
In the 9th grade, I think there are some occasions where the lesson can be shorter, and in that case, sometimes I'll do 2. Yeah. Because you actually can fit them both, and it also helps you get through a little bit more of the content. I'm one of those teachers that has not gotten through an entire year yet because there's just that much. And I think filling up 90 minutes is not hard at all as far as the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade classes go. There's that much depth to the lessons, there's that many activities, there's that much stuff that you can actually do that filling up 90 minutes is not hard. Past the 9th grade. For 9th grade would be a little bit tough to
And to clarify, we are using this curriculum, just based on some feedback I've gotten from our instructors.
Well, if we can help you with that, we'd be happy to do that just as a one-off job.
Well, we'll have 2 new instructors this year.
Great.
So they'll have to get training regardless.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we'll definitely try to work that out.
That's actually something that we started adding to our teacher professional development. People who are coming in now, one of the things we started doing, particularly at the higher grades, as it does get more in depth is marking things that you can skip. The idea, of course, is that we want to maximize the enrichment of the program, but if you're short of time, if it's getting late in the semester, we're identifying items that you can skip because we do realize. No, I know him.
So you mentioned that you want to track the outcomes. Is it possible for a school to just do like a 9th and 10th grade?
Totally. Yeah, so we wanted to make a program that could take you all the way through. If that's your passion, we want you to pursue it. And if that's 4 years, then we want to give you 4 years. Lots of schools only use 1 grade or 2 grades. Some schools skip the 9th grade entirely because they really want to dive right into the meat and they know their kids want to be pilots. That's okay. I actually really recommend the 9th grade program because I think it does a lot to set the stage and it's fun. But if you only want to teach 9th grade and you want to allow seniors to take the 9th grade class, fine. It's your turn. It's your turn.
I would say on the block thing, to that point, I think the extension options in the lesson plans help with that. So almost every lesson ends with extension exercises and differentiation at the end where you can do more. Like if the kids already mastered the concept, here's how you can take it further, which I think is great. Obviously bringing in the sim components with the lessons, lengthen the lesson, but you get more time for the hands-on piece, which I think is great. And also just as sort of a kudos for the early part of thinking about how this curriculum is going to work. When you spend 10th and 11th grade covering all the things that are on the knowledge test, that's a lot of time. You know, conventional ground school, particularly college, it lasts for an academic semester, and it's stretched out that way. And I know you guys were adamant from the beginning about building spiral review in. So when you're hitting 11th grade term 1, you're going back and talking about aerodynamics. It keeps coming up in the lesson plans. So particularly as you get later on in the course, you have the option to go, okay, well, I don't need this review right now. They're actually doing okay with this. Let's spend more time on the sims right now. I think the most challenging part of Brian's point is that start off point because the kids come in at different places. Like Jonathan should probably work at NASA and as a 14-year-old, but then another kid might come in who's never seen an airplane up close before. So it completely depends. 9th grade is like this giant open funnel, and then we just slowly get them closer and closer. But I think there are ways to do that. But I mean, that was one of my early questions too. You know, how do we accommodate the different class times? But I think lengthening it isn't an issue. It's those days where you have a pep rally or early release, and you've only got 25 minutes with them. That's a problem. That becomes a really interesting day. Yeah.
That's a good idea, yeah. So I am way over my time, and I do want to be respectful of all the other great things. Oh, okay. Well, I will be here. I'll step out into the hallway to let Eric out the space. But if anybody has other